Hey everyone, welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be taking a look at Anant Raj Ltd.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of their investor presentations, actually.
Oh, wow.
From like Q2 FY24 to Q2 FY25.
Okay.
So we're going to get to see how their operations are doing, their financials, and how their strategies changed over time.
Yeah.
So really, our mission today is to try to understand how Anant Raj Ltd. Has grown, what their key projects are right now, and why they're making this big push into data centers in India.
It's a hot market.
Yeah, it is.
So Anant Raj Ltd., first of all, they have quite a legacy.
Okay.
They've been in the real estate market in India for 5 decades.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're not new to the game.
That's so impressive.
And the founder and chairman, Ashok Saran, he has over 28 years of experience in this field.
Okay.
So, yeah, they've got quite a history.
5 decades is a long time, but I'm curious, in the world of real estate, I mean, does that legacy actually translate into success these days? What have their financials been looking like recently?
That's a really good question because, yeah, legacy is important, but you need to be able to adapt, in a fast-changing market.
Yeah, for sure.
Anant Raj Ltd., since a demerger, they've actually been doing pretty well.
Okay.
They've got this consistent financial growth, and their balance sheet's been getting stronger. To give you some hard numbers, their revenue went from INR 270 crores in FY21, that's tens of millions, to INR 1,521 crores in FY24.
Wow.
Yeah. And their PT, their profit after tax, that jumped from INR 11 crores to INR 266 crores.
Okay.
So, not bad at all.
Those are some pretty impressive numbers, I gotta say. It sounds like they're doing something right. What's been driving this growth? Are their residential projects a big part of their success?
For sure. Their residential projects are definitely a cornerstone of their business. Their flagship township project in Sector 63A, Gurugram, that area.
Yeah, it's like a suburb of Delhi.
Yeah, it's a major city near Delhi.
Okay.
That's doing really, really well. That project has been attracting a lot of buyers. They've got several ongoing projects within that township. There's Anant Raj Estate, which has like plots and villas.
Okay.
And there's Ashok Estate, which is focused on plotted development. And Avarna Independent Floors, that's a joint venture with Birla Estates.
Okay, so those are the 3. Gurugram is a pretty hot real estate market, so it makes sense they'd be doing well there. But are people actually buying these properties? Like, what are the absorption rates like?
Yeah, it's pretty surprising how well these projects are doing.
Okay.
Their absorption rates have been going over 90% even.
Wow.
In some cases, yeah.
Okay.
So that means, almost all the units that they put up for sale have been bought.
Snapped up.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're really hitting that luxury market with these residences.
Yeah.
But what about the people that are looking for more affordable options? Are they addressing that segment of the market too?
Oh, yeah. They're definitely not ignoring that. They know that there's a huge demand for affordable housing in India.
For sure.
So they've been smart about diversifying their residential portfolio.
Yeah.
To kind of capture that market as well. And recently, like in Q3 FY24, they launched an affordable housing project in Tirupati.
Okay.
It's known for like temples and pilgrimage sites.
Right.
So that project's specifically targeting a different market segment.
Gotcha. So they're not just doing these big, expensive residential projects. They're also doing some more affordable options.
Exactly.
So are they sticking just to these residential projects, or are they branching out into any other areas of real estate?
They're not just a one-trick pony.
Right.
They've got a lot going on. They've been doing commercial projects like office buildings and tech parks.
Okay.
To capitalize on that growing demand for office spaces.
Yep.
Then they're also getting into retail with projects like Joy Square Mall.
Okay.
And even hospitality with projects like Anant Raj Center 1 and Anant Raj Center 2.
So they're really all over the place in the real estate sector.
Yeah.
But I do remember you mentioned something about data centers.
Yes.
That's really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So Anant Raj Ltd., they're making this strategic move into the data center segment.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting because they're tapping into the massive growth of India's digital landscape.
Right.
With all the internet penetration, the smartphone boom, the shift to 5G, all that requires tons of data storage and processing power.
Yeah, for sure. So they're trying to position themselves to really benefit from this digital boom.
Right.
But how are they actually planning to enter this market? Are they building new data centers from scratch?
So they've got this bold plan where they're converting 5.66 million square feet of existing commercial property
Wow.
into a massive 307 milliW data center.
Okay, so they're not starting from scratch completely.
Yeah.
They're converting existing buildings.
Exactly.
Okay. That's a lot of data center capacity, though. Where are they planning to build these data centers? Are they focusing on specific areas in India?
Yeah, they've chosen 3 key locations for their data centers: Manesar, Rai, and Panchkula.
Yeah.
They're all strategically located within the Delhi NCR region,
Okay.
which is, expected to be like a huge hub for data centers in the future.
So prime location for data centers.
Yeah.
What's the status of these data center projects? Are any of them up and running yet?
Yeah, so their Manesar facility is already operational, generating revenue.
Okay.
And they actually have another 3 milliW currently under development there.
Oh, wow.
The total potential for Manesar is 50 milliW.
Okay.
So they've got big plans for that location.
That's great. So they're not wasting any time in getting these up and running. What about the other locations you mentioned, Rai and Panchkula? What's going on over there?
Rai is going to be their largest data center hub.
Okay.
They're aiming for 200 milliW capacity there.
Wow.
So it's a two-pronged approach. They're using an existing building there for 100 milliW. And then they're going to do a greenfield expansion for another 100.
Okay.
And then Panchkula, they've got plans for a 57 milliW facility that they're going to build on available greenfield area.
Okay, so across these 3 locations, they're aiming for that total of 307 milliWs of data center capacity. How does that compare to the existing landscape in India? I mean, is that going to make them a significant player in the market?
India's data center market, it's already pretty competitive.
Right.
A lot of established players with lots of capacity.
Right.
But there's huge growth potential.
Yeah.
The market's actually projected to reach 1.29 GW by 2027.
So even though there's competition, there's plenty of room for new players to enter the market and really make an impact. Are there any risks or challenges, though, that you think they might face as they venture into this new territory?
There are always challenges when you're entering a new market, especially one that's as complex as the data center industry.
Yeah.
It takes a ton of capital investment. And the competition, like we said, is fierce.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So they're going to have to navigate those challenges very carefully if they want to succeed.
Right. But they do seem to have a pretty strong foundation with their, strong financial performance and their existing real estate ventures.
They're not starting from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that will definitely help them.
Yeah.
Before we move on to their strategies for tackling these challenges,
Okay.
what are your initial thoughts about their move into data centers?
What's really fascinating to me is how they're leveraging these existing commercial properties for the data centers.
Okay.
Because it allows them to cut down construction time, costs,
Right.
It's really smart in such a capital-intensive industry.
Right.
It shows they're not just jumping in blindly. They're being very strategic.
Yeah, it sounds like they're being very deliberate, very thoughtful in their approach.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good sign. So now that we have a little bit of background about their motivation for entering the data center market, let's dive a little bit deeper into their specific plans and strategies for making this venture a success.
Okay, so we were talking about Anant Raj Ltd's plans to jump into the data center market, right?
Yeah.
A total of 307 milliW of capacity across those 3 locations. But building data centers is not easy.
No, definitely not.
It requires a lot of investment, cutting-edge technology, and you really need to understand the industry.
You're right. It's not just about throwing up a building and filling it with servers.
Exactly.
You have to create a secure, reliable facility, one that can handle the needs of today's businesses.
Yeah, and it has to be energy efficient too.
Right. So how are they approaching all these challenges? What strategies are they using to make sure their data centers actually succeed?
Well, one of their key strategies is converting existing commercial properties into these data centers.
Okay.
Which lets them use existing infrastructure, which can really cut down on construction time and costs.
Makes sense. Like repurposing something old, giving it a new purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
But what about the tech side of things? Data centers are constantly evolving, new technologies and innovations all the time. How are they keeping up with that?
They're tackling this through partnerships,
Okay.
collaborating with some big players in the data center world.
Smart.
One of their key partnerships is with Orange Business Services.
I've heard of them. They're pretty big.
Yeah, they're a global leader
Okay.
in cloud infrastructure.
So they're teaming up with experts to make sure their data center services are top-notch. But what about sustainability? Data centers are known for using a lot of energy. How are they addressing that?
It's definitely a top priority. They're designing their data centers to be energy efficient, using the latest tech to reduce their carbon footprint.
Okay.
And they're also looking into renewable energy sources to power the facilities.
So they're thinking about the environment and trying to lower their operating costs?
Right, it's a win-win.
Definitely. So we've talked about their goals, 307 milliWEO across 3 locations. Can you give us a little more detail on each of those locations and their plans for expansion?
Sure. So let's start with Manasar, which is already running, generating revenue. They're planning to expand it quite a bit, aiming to have 21 milliW operational by Q3 FY25 and another 29 milliW by Q4 FY26. That'll bring Manasar up to 50 milliW.
Wow, that's a pretty quick expansion. What about the other 2, Rai and Panchkula?
Right, so Rai is going to be their biggest hub. 200 milliW capacity plan there. They're going to use an existing building for 100 milliW and then do a greenfield expansion for the other 100.
So using what they have and building new, good balance. And Panchkula?
Panchkula is going to be a 57 milliW facility, all new construction.
Okay, so across those 3, that's the 307 milliW we talked about. But beyond capacity, what kind of data center services are they offering? A specific niche or broader market?
They're actually doing both colocation services and cloud platform solutions.
Oh, interesting. So they're covering a wide range of needs.
Exactly, from big businesses to smaller ones.
But with these big plans, how are they handling the money side of things? Building data centers takes a lot of cash. Are they taking on a lot of debt?
That's where their strong finances and focus on debt reduction come in.
Okay.
They're aiming to be net debt-free by the end of 2024.
That's impressive.
So that gives them a really solid base for their data center investments.
So they're being careful, not just piling on debt, thinking long-term.
Exactly.
But beyond just the money, what kind of impact might their data center expansion have on India's digital world?
That's a really interesting question. Having strong data center infrastructure is super important for digital growth. And Anant Raj Ltd could play a big role in speeding up India's digital transformation.
So it's not just about data centers, it's about boosting the whole digital economy.
Exactly. Faster internet, better reliability, making digital services more accessible to everyone.
Sounds like Anant Raj Ltd is setting themselves up to be a big part of India's digital future. But with all this focus on data centers, are they moving away from their regular real estate business?
No, they're not abandoning their roots.
Okay.
They see data centers as a way to add to their portfolio.
Makes sense. Not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right. Creating multiple ways to grow.
Are there any other challenges or risks they might face that we haven't talked about yet?
Well, the data center world is capital intensive, and the technology is always changing.
Right. So they need to stay on top of things.
Exactly. They need to have the right people, the right partners.
Right. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about the whole package.
Yeah, and competition is going to be a big challenge.
Of course. The data center market in India is getting a lot of attention.
Exactly. Lots of players, both domestic and international.
So Anant Raj Ltd will need to find a way to stand out.
Yeah, they need to offer something unique.
Right. They can't just blend in. They have to differentiate themselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so competition is one challenge. Anything else?
Regulatory uncertainty is another one.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the data center industry in India is still pretty new, and the rules and regulations aren't fully developed yet.
Okay, I see. So that makes it hard for businesses to plan for the long term.
Right. It creates a lot of uncertainty.
But could that also be an opportunity for them?
How so?
Well, as the industry matures and the regulations become clearer, Anant Raj Ltd could have a chance to help shape those regulations.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, they could work with policymakers and other industry players.
To create a system that works for everyone.
Exactly. So while the uncertainty can be a challenge, it could also be an advantage for them in the long run. Anything else we need to consider?
Well, talent is going to be really important. Finding and keeping the right people.
Makes sense. You need skilled people to run these data centers.
Exactly. People with expertise in engineering, operations, cybersecurity, cloud computing, all of that.
They'll need to invest in training and development to make sure they have the best team.
For sure. Talent is a key to success in this industry.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of the challenges they're facing.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up our discussion on Anant Raj Ltd, I want to touch on cybersecurity.
Oh.
With all the cyber attacks and data breaches happening, how are they protecting their data centers and the information they store?
That's a great question, and it's definitely top of mind for them.
So what are they doing? What kind of measures are they taking?
They're using a multi-layered approach. Physical security, network security, data encryption.
They're really trying to cover all the bases.
Yeah, they're investing in cybersecurity training for their employees, too, making sure everyone knows how to protect data.
So they're not just focusing on the technology, but also the human element.
Right, because sometimes people can be the weakest link.
Exactly. But security is not just about technology and people, it's also about processes.
Yes, definitely. They have strict policies and procedures in place for everything, from physical access control to data backups and disaster recovery.
Okay, that sounds reassuring. They're not taking any chances. So they're taking cybersecurity very seriously, which is great to see because it's essential in today's world. But as we've talked about throughout this deep dive, they're not just focused on data centers.
Right.
They're also still developing their traditional real estate business.
Exactly. It's all about balance.
They're diversifying their portfolio, which makes them more adaptable.
And more resilient to changes in the market.
Exactly. It's a smart strategy.
Yeah.
But with this shift toward data centers, are there any potential challenges or risks they might face that we haven't discussed yet?
Well, there are always challenges with any new venture. The data center industry, as we said, needs a lot of capital and technology is constantly changing.
Right.
They need to navigate these challenges well if they want to succeed. Make sure they have the right people, the right partnerships, and the right strategies.
Right. Even with a good plan, there can be unexpected hurdles.
Exactly. And competition is fierce. They'll need to stand out from the crowd.
That's true. Every market has its challenges.
And then there's regulatory uncertainty, which we talked about.
Right. That's definitely something to keep an eye on.
And they need to attract and retain top talent.
For sure.
The right people can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like they have a lot to think about, but they seem to be approaching things thoughtfully.
Yeah, they're definitely strategic in their approach.
Before we move on to their financials in more detail, what are your overall thoughts on Anant Raj Ltd and their move into data centers?
I think it's a bold move, and they seem to be doing everything right so far. But it's a competitive market, and it'll be interesting to see how they navigate the challenges ahead.
Okay, so there's definitely potential, but also some uncertainty. Let's dive into their financials next and see if that gives us any more clues about their future.
Sounds good.
So we've spent quite a bit of time digging into Anant Raj Ltd's jump into data centers, haven't we?
We have.
It's clear they've got big ambitions, and we've touched on the potential rewards.
Good.
But like we mentioned earlier, there are some hurdles they need to get over.
Absolutely, yeah. The data center industry, it's not an easy one. It takes a lot of investment. The competition's fierce, especially in a rapidly growing market like India.
So how are they getting ready to face these challenges? What strategies are they using to, handle the risks? Are they just throwing money at it, or is there a plan?
Well, one key strategy is their focus on converting those existing commercial properties into data centers, remember?
Right.
That lets them use what's already there, so they cut down on construction time and costs.
Smart move. More efficient use of their money. But what about all the tech stuff? That world is constantly changing. How do they keep up?
They're not just relying on what they already know. They've been really smart about forming partnerships with companies that are, the experts in data center technology.
Okay, so they're teaming up with the best.
Exactly. Like their collaboration with Orange Business Services, that gives them access to all the latest tech and loads of experience.
So they're making sure they can offer those top-notch services, the kind their clients need. But what about the whole sustainability thing? Data centers use a ton of energy. How are they addressing that?
Oh, they're not ignoring that at all. Actually, they're designing these data centers with sustainability in mind right from the start.
Okay.
Energy-efficient infrastructure, the newest cooling technologies, even looking into using renewable energy to power those facilities.
So they're not just talking about it, they're actually doing it. But does that actually make good business sense besides being good for the planet?
Absolutely. Being energy efficient is good for the environment, but it also lowers their operating costs in the long run.
Makes sense. So it's a win-win. They're doing the right thing and saving money at the same time. Sounds like they're thinking about all the angles.
Definitely.
But looking at the big picture, what does all this mean for Anant Raj Ltd's future? What's the outlook? Are they on the right track, or are there still some big risks out there?
Well, they're moving aggressively into data centers. They've got strong financials, a diverse portfolio. I think it's looking pretty good for them.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. They're balancing their existing real estate business with this new data center venture. Helps them manage risk and positions them for growth.
Smart strategy. Now, here's a question for you and for everyone listening. As they keep expanding in this data center world, how do you think it's going to affect the whole market in India? Will we see the big players gobble up the smaller ones, or will new players pop up and try to take on the giants? What kind of shakeup will Anant Raj Ltd cause?
That's a really interesting question, and I think we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
The market in India, it's dynamic. Things are changing fast. Anant Raj Ltd's expansion, plus the growth of India's digital economy, it's going to shape the market in the years to come. It's going to be exciting to watch.
It definitely gives us a lot to think about.
It does.
Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of Anant Raj Ltd.
My pleasure.
They're a company to keep an eye on for sure, and we'll be following their journey as they navigate this data center world. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.